I've been in advertising for quite a while, and this business has changed dramatically over the years, from across oceans, across screens, across technology, some of the biggest problem clients you can ever think of in your life, from Clemenger BBDO to Ogilvy to White and Kennedy to JWT. I've kind of surfed the networks of everything. And when I joined Amazon, I sat down with the leadership team and said, here's the plan, right? Here's what we're building. So I had all the data, had all the facts, have insights from what's going on in the industry and what we're doing. And after about 30 minutes, I thought it was an amazing presentation. And Jeff sat back on his chair and said, that's just wonderful. But you're forgetting the single most important thing, our single most leadership principle, which is customer obsession. What I want you to do is exactly what you said. But instead of working from a brand forward, I want you to start with the customer and work backwards. That was like, to me, it changed my life. Because as a marketer, our job is to understand the brand and then work out the audience. But from an Amazon point of view, we start the other way around. We start with the customer and work backwards. And if you think the customer hasn't changed, you've got another thing coming, because they really have changed and really have evolved forward. In the mid-2000s, something quite dramatic happened. The advent of social and the changing in the technology that allowed mobile devices. And with that, moved the customer perception from sitting in the back seat to them taking a bigger step and driving the brand forward. And if you think for a second that that's not true, have a think about that little Pepsi commercial that ran earlier in the year with Caitlyn Jenner. Now, I don't want to judge whether it was a good commercial or a bad commercial. That's not what I'm here. But remember how quickly that was pulled down from the air and the public outcry about that commercial. So 10 years ago, 5 years ago, would have that happened? I can remember cutting my teeth in the BBDO network for a long time, and I can remember what I thought were these amazing ads, right? In hindsight, they probably weren't. And you never heard any outcry. The only time you heard outcry was from the government when they said pull that down because it's just not right for children to watch or something like that. And with the change in the audience, have we changed as marketers? Or are we still doing the same thing we were doing 10 to 15 years ago and preaching out to our customers? I believe now we're in the experience society. People need experiences. We're still tribal, we're still human underneath, but we need experiences to drive us forward. And those experiences can be delivered physically, or they can be delivered through technology. What I love about this quote from Richard Branson is a couple of things. Firstly, I cannot buy an aeroplane today. Maybe I could in a few years' time, but we'll have to wait and see. But I stumbled across this quote roughly around the same time that United Airlines had that overcapacity issue, where the gentleman was asked to get off the plane and make room for someone else. Now, let's pull apart for a second the airline business as a whole. So let's just, I'm from Seattle, so we'll stick to Boeing for the sake of argument. A 737 is a 737. It has wheels, it has engines, and hopefully the service plan between the airliners are the same, and hopefully the pilots have been trained exactly the same way. But what is the difference? What is the single difference between a United flight and a Virgin flight? Because in theory, it's just this tube going 800 miles an hour through the air, and you're having a bag of peanuts. It's exactly the same, right? But I think Richard Branson has uncovered that it's not the airliner. He's not in the airline business. He's in the business of a better experience, whether it be an airline business, a train business, or a mobile business. And he's in the experience of actually driving that forward. And if you think from our point of view, what business are we in? We say we're in advertising, right? We talk about advertising, but is it really the advertising business? And is a product that we sell or market like a bank or a CPG client, is that really a bank, or is it really solving a larger problem? As humans, I think we lost the fact that we are a tribal species. There's this tremendous book that came out about a year or 2 years ago called *Sapiens* that follows the life cycle of humanity as we evolved from Neanderthals to the Sapiens and how that actually moved forward. And I use it as I'm building teams and talking about teams, but also talks about humanity is still the same as it was 10,000 years ago. But the only difference is, as humans, we're just using amazing technology, and the emotion behind what we do is just as important. If you take a big step back and talk about Amazon as a whole, what is Amazon? Is it a retailer? Is it a tech company? Is it a media publisher? We make devices, we make Kindles and Echoes, but at the end of the day, my sense is Amazon is an experience company. Has anyone had a problem with an Amazon purchase? I'm sure there's a few of you that had a late delivery or the product didn't turn up correctly or anything like that, and how that problem is fixed talks directly about the quality of customer service and the experience we want to give our team. Now this is what we call the Amazon flywheel. It sits out in the public and you can find it anywhere. Just do a quick search and it's there. And Folklore has it that this was written 20 years ago, or almost 21 years ago, on a cocktail napkin. Now, as a creative person, I truly understand the value of a good cocktail napkin, right? It's something that I grew up with, and theoretically, most ideas start on a cocktail napkin, which I actually don't agree with. But the stories behind that, and what Amazon started with was with the flywheel was customer experience as the number one thing we want to deliver. And with customer experience, generates more traffic and more people. Through that, you get more sellers and greater selection, which then, of course, adds up to a greater customer experience. So when we think about the advertising business and how we've got to evolve to meet the customer, I take a step back and always think about now we're a customer experience company. I like to talk about Diageo and alcohol a lot because as a creative, the two go hand in hand to a certain extent. And Diageo came to Amazon with a good problem to solve. As creative of advertising, our job is to solve problems. There's nothing more confusing than that. And with solving problems, the question I asked is it a brand problem that we're solving or a customer problem that we're solving? And from an Amazon point of view, we say it's a customer problem we're solving. It's nothing else than that. So Diageo came with a problem they want to solve from a customer. They have some terrific brands, Johnnie Walker, Tanqueray, Ciroc. There's an amazing gin called Monkey 47 from Germany. If you're into gin, I can't talk about it enough. It is really good. So Diageo wanted to inspire people to actually build more cocktails and more mixed drinks. They obviously sell hard alcohol. They wanted to inspire the advocates for the brand, talking about the bartenders, and they wanted to drive the whole brand further forward. Now, we're not talking about keep walking for Johnnie Walker. We're not talking about an ad for a gin or an ad for a wine company. We're talking about Diageo as a whole. And most consumers don't really care who Diageo is. So we partnered with Diageo on this thing called World Class List. They've been running World Class List for a while. And the job of World Class List was to inspire bartenders to be more creative with their cocktails that they make. And because they're the influencers of society, if they're being creative, hopefully that rolls down to consumers and we have more cocktails and therefore we sell more alcohol at the other end of the scale. One of the questions that we had is can you sell a lot more hard alcohol online? Now, from a US point of view, hard alcohol is obviously really hard to sell. We have Tied House rules, which is a state-by-state driven law. Retailers have issues with alcohol. So the campaign we're talking about here actually ran throughout Europe. World Class List, what you see on the screen, both the left and the right-hand screen, is what we call Amazon a custom landing page. In real people's terms, it's just a website that sits on Amazon itself. It's nothing more than that. So after we found this bartender who made the best drink in the world, there's a couple of things came from that. One is Australian, and naturally Australians are more akin to alcohol, plus I also think Australians are better looking. Maybe a bit smarter than most people. I'm not too sure whether you agree with that fact. But anyway, he is Australian. And so he was in Sydney. And the emphasis behind this story is they took him on this journey for 5 major cities around the world: Barcelona, Madrid, Sydney, of course, and a few other places. And because we're targeting millennials, they really wanted to get inside the head of millennials and understand who they were. But also, millennials really love to travel, lifestyle, food, entertainment, and what goes on in those major cities. So with that, World Class List basically took this gentleman on a 6-week, 5-city journey around the world. It was Anthony Bourdain, but for millennials in a nutshell. It was a TV show built for that. The customer journey was really straightforward. We promoted it as a TV show that ran on Amazon. And from that, they went to the discovery page or the custom landing page. And then from that is when they watched one of the episodes that were 22 minutes long, which is a pre-standard time for TV formats. Then we re-hit them with the product ASIN, Johnny Walker Gold, and the ASIN is just a SKU for the product. So it was really linking the content directly with the commerce itself. And we always talk about the advertising funnel, like from awareness to consideration to purchase to CRM. That funnel doesn't really exist anymore. We can go from awareness to CRM in seconds, and how we do that is really important. So from this point of view, we took the customer journey, and then we looked at the sales at the back end and worked out what worked, and we did retargeting and all the usual stuff we do. Let's have a quick look at the quality of material that was built, but also how it actually worked. We are lacking a little bit of volume. So in a nutshell, that's the good-looking gentleman who actually won the bartending thing.
So it's going to be pretty epic. I don't know how to describe it. It's really nice.
At Amazon, we're very protective of our customers. We don't really share huge amounts of data. The biggest question I know you're going to have is did it work, right? I can tell you now that bottle sales in Spain went up 900% online, and bottle sales in the UK went up just over 220% online. Now, if you think of your lifestyle and do you buy alcohol online or go into an off-license, as they call it in the UK, you wonder how many off Amazon sales it actually drove. So in a nutshell, moving on from Diageo, it's all about humanity, and humanity hasn't evolved. As I said, it hasn't evolved. The difference is today we're just doing this fantastic technology and you're really close friends. But really it's about problem solving, and that's the business we're in, is really solving a customer's problem. I'm going to roll on to a different case study that didn't really involve technology, but involved an OEM. So Hyundai make a good vehicle, they're a solid vehicle. They were having trouble getting butts in seats through the test drive. Now, if anyone has gone on a test drive recently, you realize it's actually not a really good experience. You know, it should be this amazing thing when you save your 20,000 or 200,000, depending on where you sit, and you go to the car dealership. But I can tell you that instant when you step out of your existing car onto the dealership lot, something happens to your stomach. It kind of clenches up just a little bit, and that's a huge problem for someone who wants to get a test drive. So we partner with Hyundai, where Amazon took the test drive to someone else, to the house itself. Rather than you going to the dealership, Amazon personally, not a car salesperson, but Amazon brought it to you.
Going to a dealer is not fun at all.
When you do it with a dealer, there's always that pressure.
I remember being at the Toyota dealership, and I actually liked the car, but I think I was so turned off by the sales pitch of it. I was like, you know what?
Exactly.
We're gonna leave and not come back.
Hi, this is Jaron. Come on out to the front, and we've got a test drive for you.
How you doing?
Hey, David.
Yeah,
Hey, man.
put a shirt on.
You're perfectly dressed. Let's roll. Hi, Miss Amanda. I'm Jaron with your
Nice
Prime
to
Now
meet you.
Drive Now car experience. Hyundai Elantra right over here.
You guys ready to scream?
You don't get the opportunity to do this
No.
when you're test driving a car at a dealer.
Now I'm going to demand that every other test drive they're going to have to pick me up. Now you spoiled me.
What's your favorite part about just taking a test drive from your house?
Not have to deal with going into a dealership and having salespeople give you the stink eye because all you want to do is test drive the car.
You think this is what's going to be happening now? Because
Hey.
Amazon Prime announcing this morning
High five.
that's it?
That's it.
I feel like I owe you guys something.
No, your company was pleasure enough. That was great.
It's a pretty huge step in the auto business, and Amazon doesn't do anything that we can't scale out. So if you think of softening foot traffic in any retail environment, whether it's, let's say, Macy's and you're a makeup brand and you're trying to sell makeup, how do you get someone to switch brands where they're not even trying it when they walk through the store and get sprayed down with all this perfume? How do you get brand switches to move forward? And that's what we're really good at, is solving those problems, but understanding technology is just a small part of it. One of the things that I actually love studying people. I think people make our business, but also make what we do. And with technology, the difference, what's happening with millennials is really quite amazing. Their family values are so much higher than Gen X and baby boomers. The difference is they do it through this amazing thing called technology, and all their 300 close friends on Facebook, or the comment section that sit inside Amazon is where they get their information. So with that in mind is how do we create experiences for them? The question I have is how are Brave brands changing? So if you're a CPG retailer and you're doing a lot of e-commerce online, who owns the Amazon relationship? Is it the head of sales, or is it the head of marketing, or the head of e-commerce? It's a really big question that we're trying to solve. But also if you're a retailer, why do you sit so far away from the product people or the marketing people or the sales people? It's crazy how it's all changing. And I promise you, this slide was not supposed to look like that. But anyway, the important thing is when we're talking to the audience, how they evolve is really good. They don't listen to brands preaching about themselves anymore. Only 1% of what an audience hears is actually what they take in. So your ads have to change. How you talk about your ads, how you build your ads, really have to change. And that's where we want to think about is how do we change and how do we evolve forward. To finish up really quickly, this is a statement that came from Jeff in the last shareholders review, and it talked a lot about emerging trends and emerging things. And the difference is now, if you're not leaning into AI and voice now, if you're not taking the first steps to learning about it and moving forward, in a couple of years' time, you're going to be falling behind. So how do you set up a system to learn and evolve? Not everything's perfect. I can tell you now, not every Alexa skill out there is the best skill in the world. When Apple first started building apps, how many of those horrible apps did we experience first, to the point we're at now? And Alexa's exactly the same. Not all the skills are great. Some are amazing, but not all are great. And the second thing I want to leave you about is experience can be the message. And we're in the experience society now. People want to be involved a lot more. They own the brand, they drive the brand. And how we as marketers and advertising people can influence them has changed so much since I started cutting my teeth, what I thought was good TV spots over the years. And with that, I want to thank you very much. It's great to come back to Boston. And I'm looking forward to getting out to Fenway when I come back in November. Thank you very much.